Alright, so in today's video we are going to talk about Tailwind CSS and how to set up a Tailwind CSS very easily, because it can be quite tricky to set up, especially for beginner. So here we are in Tailwind CSS website, and there is the front page where they are just showing everything they are doing. So yeah, just head to documentation right there and go to installation. And for me, this is a way too huge page just to talk about installation. I think they are losing a lot of users just by doing such a huge page. Actually, it should be easier, but it's just my opinion. So because if you didn't even use PostCSS or autoprefixer before, well, it can be quite tricky to understand what is Tailwind and what is PostCSS, etc., etc. So yeah, just follow what they are saying right there. So we are going to install Tailwind CSS and PostCSS, which is tools to add features to your CSS. When we are going to compile a CSS file, it will add features like adding a prefixer, vendor prefixer like WebKit, Moz, and etc. So yeah, just copy that and head to empty folder. Okay, so Tailwind setup right there, and just open the terminal, and here you can do a npm init-y just to initialize package.json right there. Great, and now you can just install these dependencies. Okay, so now look in our dependencies. We do have autoprefixer, PostCSS, and Tailwind CSS. There is node modules. Okay, everything's great. So now we are going to create PostCSS configuration file. So postcss.config.js like that. Okay, and in this configuration file, we are going to use some plugin. This is some features you can add to PostCSS. Okay, so how do you do that? Just come here, okay, and module.exports equal an object, and right there you are going to put your plugins in an array. So we are going to use Tailwind CSS as a plugin, so we can further just compile CSS with some class of Tailwind. You will see just after that. So here you need to add require Tailwind CSS, and we are going to add some vendor prefix automatically. So require autoprefixer 2. Okay, so after that you can customize this file all you want, but just to begin, it's nice just to have that actually. So now we are going to create an index HTML. You can do the exclamation mark, enter, or tab, and it will build a doctype from scratch. You can just write there Tailwind setup, and we are going to link a file, an output.css file, and just right there you put h1 hello world tailwind whatever, and just open it to see that there is no CSS right now. So yeah, there is no CSS, just a hello world tailwind CSS. Okay, so now how to create that CSS file, that output CSS file with Tailwind CSS classes? Well, you need to first create an input.css file, and there at Tailwind base, and then you are going to just write their component and utilities. What is that? It's some directive, some Tailwind directive. So we do have Tailwind installed, so it will work great. You are telling that you want all the classes from the base, the components, and related to utilities. So utilities is colors and spacing and everything. Component is like for the container or thing like that, and base is for the reset CSS, the CSS reset. Okay, great. So now we are telling that we want every classes that are inside those container if you want. So we need to add a script right there, a build script. Okay, and we are going to use PostCSS to compile that file, and we are going to build PostCSS build from our input.css -o, mean output, into a new file, output.css. Great. Now we need PostCSS CLI, so npm install PostCSS CLI, post-CSS CLI. Because post-CSS alone is not enough. You need, when you are going to use some command related to post-CSS, to have post-CSS CLI installed, okay? So it should be it. Go. Great. So now we do have our post-CSS CLI. We do have our input CSS. We can build our CSS file output. So npm run build. Okay, we are running this script, and look, it will work. Usually it will create a new output.css. So yeah, just yes, great, success. So now we do have a big file. Look, it has like 183,000 lines, so it's really huge. And this is for what that you have the purge feature with Tailwind. You can purge your CSS when you have coded your website. When everything is finished, you can remove the CSS you are not using actually. Okay, so yeah, this is a pretty basic setup, but now you can use Tailwind CSS. Look, since it's linked right there, you can use some Tailwind CSS class like bgred for 400. Sorry, I have still trouble with number. So bgred 400, and for example, text center, and for the size of the text 4XL, like XL. And look, this is working, okay? It's working. When you go to zoom 100%, it gives you a nice color background, and it's the text is centered, and it's a little bit bigger than just usual H1. Okay, so this is how you can just set up your project with Tailwind CSS. You need kind of to use post-CSS just to have later on some nice little plugin and little features. You are not forced to, but they are saying that yeah, it's pretty useful. So they kind of force you to install post-CSS and some nice plugin. Okay. All right. So I hope that I've helped many people, and see you next time. Bye.